Abby and Brittany Hensel, once conjoined twins who shared a single body, are now separated forever. A decision driven by life-threatening health complications. This marks the end of a life they mastered together, where even breathing and walking were joint efforts, now split into two individuals facing the unknown. Let us dive into their extraordinary journey, a leap into independence that will change their lives in ways no one could have foreseen. The separation of Abby and Brittany. Abby and Brittany Hensel, the once inseparable twins who shared everything from a body to a lifetime of attention, are now split for good. This is it, the final curtain on a story that's been equal parts inspiring and mind-boggling for decades. Gone are the days of synchronized steps and tag team living. Now it's two separate people, two separate lives, and a mountain of challenges waiting to be tackled solo. But what could drive such an extraordinary bond to fracture? What secret lies beneath this seismic shift? Stay tuned, because the truth is more shocking than anyone could have imagined. Born in 1990, these twins came into the world as dicephalic parapagus conjoined twins. That's science talk for two heads, one body. Their situation was a one in several million kind of rarity, a curiosity that made people stop and stare. But beneath the attention-grabbing headlines were two very different people with their own thoughts, dreams, and the occasional squabble. They weren't just some medical miracle. They were two humans navigating life in a way none of us could fully grasp. For years, the idea of separation wasn't even on the table. It wasn't medically possible when they were younger, and by the time it became a theoretical option, the twins had made it crystal clear. They were happy being conjoined. In fact, they owned it. They learned to walk in sync, masterfully shared responsibilities like driving a car. Abby worked the pedals, Brittany handled the steering, and built a life that seemed against all odds functional. To the outside world, they were an extraordinary duo. To themselves, just Abby and Brittany. But life has a funny way of forcing change. Health complications crept in, ones that couldn't be ignored. The reality of shared organs and aging bodies made the conversation about separation less abstract and more urgent. Add to that the natural desire to explore individuality, to have personal space, personal goals, and personal relationships. And suddenly the unthinkable became inevitable. The decision to separate wasn't some impulsive whim. This wasn't like debating over whether to dye your hair or change your major in college. This was life-altering, body-altering, history-altering stuff. The surgical procedure itself was a labyrinth of complexities. Imagine a team of top-tier surgeons and specialists huddled over scans, mapping out which organs went where, which systems could be split, and how to minimize the risks. Months of planning, simulations, and consultations all led up to a single moment. The day Abby and Brittany officially became two. The surgery was nothing short of a medical Hail Mary. The risks were staggering. From organ failure to complications neither the doctors nor the twins could predict. But the team pulled it off, marking a monumental milestone in medical history. Yet the physical separation was only part of the equation. The real work? That began after the surgery. Picture this: two individuals who've spent every waking moment side by side now waking up alone. Basic tasks, things you do without a second thought, like brushing your teeth or getting out of bed, became Herculean challenges. Physical therapy became a full-time job as each twin learned to navigate a body that now felt foreign and incomplete. And the emotional toll? After years of shared laughs, shared tears, and shared everything, they were suddenly alone. But Abby and Brittany weren't exactly the type to wallow. Their entire lives had been a masterclass in resilience, and this new chapter was no different. They leaned on their family, their friends, and each other, even from a distance, to push through the hardest days. There were setbacks, sure, days when it felt like the universe was asking too much, but there were also victories, tiny and monumental, like taking their first independent steps or completing a task without assistance. Of course, the world was watching, as it always had. Their story sparked debates about individuality, identity, and what it really means to live an authentic life. Some called their choice courageous, others called it reckless. But Abby and Brittany didn't need the world's validation. This was about them, plain and simple. They'd spent decades defying expectations, and they weren't about to stop now. And then there was the question of identity. Who were Abby and Brittany as individuals? For so long, they'd been defined as a unit. Now, they had to figure out what it meant to be just Abby and just Brittany. Careers, relationships, personal goals, everything was on the table, but it all came with a steep learning curve. They were navigating uncharted territory, and they were doing it in the spotlight. It wasn't all smooth sailing. There were days when they missed the simplicity of their shared life, days when the enormity of their choice felt crushing. But there were also moments of pure joy, a newfound sense of freedom, the thrill of independence, the realization that they were finally living life on their own terms. Abby and Brittany weren't just surviving, they were evolving. Their story isn't some neatly wrapped tale with a clear beginning, middle, and end. It's messy, complicated, and above all, human. It's about embracing change even when it's terrifying. It's about the courage to let go of the familiar to chase something bigger. And it's a reminder that growth often comes with a hefty price tag. Abby and Brittany's journey will undoubtedly continue to captivate and inspire. Not because they're perfect, far from it, but because they're real. Their decision to separate, to redefine their lives, to take a leap into the unknown is a testament to the strength of the human spirit. They've shown us what it means to adapt, to persevere, and to keep moving forward even when the road ahead is anything but clear. The weeks leading up to their separation were filled with reflection and preparation. Abby and Brittany pored over every possible scenario, discussing what life would look like after the surgery. They knew the physical adjustments would be immense, but the psychological changes loomed even larger. They had spent their entire lives finishing each other's sentences, making decisions as a unit. Now they were tasked with building their own identities, completely independent of one another. Post-surgery, the challenges came in waves. From learning to dress themselves to adjusting to altered mobility, every step was uncharted territory. Physical therapists worked tirelessly to guide them through exercises tailored to their new realities. Psychological counseling was another cornerstone of their recovery. The twins faced the emotional upheaval of separation head-on, confronting the grief of losing their physical connection while celebrating their new independence. Friends and family rallied around them, offering unwavering support. Their parents, who had navigated the complexities of raising conjoined twins, now faced a new set of challenges as they helped their daughters transition into independent lives. The twins' inner circle became a lifeline, providing strength during moments of doubt and celebrating the milestones, no matter how small. As time went on, Abby and Brittany began to carve out distinct paths. Abby pursued her passion for architecture, immersing herself in design projects and embracing the creative freedom of her new life. Brittany, always the more outgoing of the two, explored opportunities in teaching, finding fulfillment in working with children. Their careers became a reflection of their unique personalities, a testament to the individuality they had always yearned to express. Their journey also sparked important conversations about the nature of identity and independence. Abby and Brittany's decision to separate challenged societal perceptions of what it means to be truly autonomous. Their story became a beacon of hope for others facing their own battles with identity, proving that even the most daunting changes can lead to personal growth and fulfillment. They remain each other's biggest supporters, cheering one another on from a distance and celebrating each other's successes. This is the moment everything changes for Abby and Brittany. The fight to stay whole. Life for the twins is all about teamwork, and that extends to their health. They control different halves of their body, meaning that each twin only feels sensations on her side. If Abby hurts her arm, she feels the pain, but they both have to work together to make sure it heals. It's this kind of constant coordination that's always defined their relationship. And when it comes to medical care, it's even more complicated. They need specialists from multiple fields working together to make sure they both stay healthy. They have separate hearts, but their circulatory systems are connected in a way that means an issue for one could affect the other. It's a balancing act that requires constant vigilance, and it's exhausting just to think about. This latest health crisis is different. It's not just about the physical challenges, there's a mental and emotional toll too. Imagine never having a moment to yourself. Imagine always having someone right there, even when you just need space. The twins have found ways to give each other room, even though physical space is impossible. They're two very different people, and they've spent their lives trying to find that balance. It's not easy, and this latest challenge is putting even more pressure on that fragile balance.
With Miss Brittany and I, what does that mean about how many eyes we have?
Before we go any further, let's face it. The truth is far more complicated than anyone could have anticipated, and the hardest part is yet to come. When it comes to dating, things get even more complicated. Abby got married, and that brought a whole new set of challenges. How does that work for the other twin? It's a question that most of us can't even begin to understand, and they have managed to keep the details of their personal lives private. Impressive, considering how many people are fascinated by them. Their relationship status might make for interesting gossip, but it's not something they talk about much. They've got enough to deal with just trying to live a life that's already more complicated than most. Their careers are another area where things get tough. Teaching is a demanding job, even for people who don't have to share a body with their coworker. They have to be perfectly in sync, not just physically, but also mentally to manage a classroom. They're constantly communicating, making sure they're on the same page, and their students love them for it. But behind the scenes, it's a struggle. Standing all day, managing kids, keeping up with the physical demands, it's exhausting. And they still have to fight to be recognized as two individuals, even when it comes to getting paid. Imagine having 2 degrees, 2 certifications, and still getting one salary because you share a body. It's just another hurdle they have to overcome. The emotional and psychological challenges of their lives are intense. Most people can go for a walk, slam a door, or just take a break when they need some space. But for them, that's not an option. They're always there, always together, and as they get older, that lack of privacy is only going to get harder. They've adapted in a lot of ways, but some things are just impossible to overcome. They're going to need constant mental health support to help them cope with the challenges of living their lives. It's not just about surviving, it's about finding ways to thrive, and that's going to be tough. There's no easy way to talk about Abby and Brittany's life expectancy. Conjoined twins don't have an average lifespan. Their situation is just too unique. And with their shared organs, the stress on their bodies is something that's always there. The fact that they've made it this far is a testament to their resilience and the care they've received, but the future is uncertain. They're human, and their bodies can only take so much.
Ready, on go, 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 go.
As this latest health scare unfolds, it's a reminder that nothing in their lives is guaranteed. They've always faced challenges, but this one is different. It's about survival, and that's not something anyone can take lightly. Abby and Brittany have overcome so much, but what lies ahead will push them harder than ever before. Standing strong through the storm. Abby and Brittany are once again showing the world what true strength looks like. They're facing an uncertain future, but they're doing it together, just as they always have. Their story is far from over, and whatever comes next, they're going to face it with the same grace and determination that they've shown throughout their lives. Their path is a powerful reminder of what the human spirit can endure. It's a reminder that no matter what challenges we face, we have the ability to overcome them. And Abby and Brittany have shown us all that even when the odds are stacked against you, it's still possible to live a life that's full of love, connection, and hope. The ultimate test is now. Their bodies are changing, aging, and frankly, not cooperating the way they used to. It's hard enough for most of us to deal with one body getting older. Now imagine having to coordinate every movement with someone else when your body just doesn't work like it used to. The patience they're going to need is off the charts, and it's not fair. But fairness has never been a part of Abby and Brittany's story. It's always been about resilience, and now, more than ever, they're going to need every ounce of it. Their medical care is like trying to fix a car with 2 steering wheels. Every adjustment affects both drivers. And it's not just a quick trip to the doctor. It's specialists, custom treatments, teams of doctors trying to figure out what works.
Above the waist, they seem to function independently, and yet they can clap, even though one controls one arm and the other controls the other.
The energy they've got to put into just staying healthy is mind-boggling. And then there's their career. Teaching is no joke, especially when you're trying to manage a classroom and keep everything coordinated. And for Abby and Brittany, it's even more draining. Standing all day, trying to keep up with energetic kids, dealing with the demands of teaching, it's exhausting. And let's not even talk about the pay. You'd think two brains would mean two salaries, but bureaucracy doesn't work like that. It's more like, you share a body, so here's one paycheck. They're always having to prove themselves, even when they've already done more than most of us could ever imagine. And emotionally, the strain is real. Imagine being with someone every second of every day, never having a break, never having privacy. It's cute in theory, but the reality is so much tougher. And as they get older, that's only going to get more challenging. They're not invincible. They're human, and their health, both physical and mental, needs attention. They're going to need support, and a lot of it. It's not about surviving anymore. It's about finding ways to truly live. And that's the hardest part of all. Abby and Brittany have been defying the odds since day one, but now, as their bodies age, they're facing a new kind of challenge. How do you keep going when everything is pushing back against you? The path isn't over. They're still here, still fighting, still showing the world what real strength looks like. And whatever happens next, we know one thing for sure. Abby and Brittany aren't going down without a fight.
Don't put that stuff on mine, Cody. I don't want that on there. Okay.
They've got each other, and as long as that's true, they're not giving up. Join us as we continue to follow their story. Because if there's one thing we've learned, it's that Abby and Brittany's story is far from finished. What's next for these incredible women? Will their bond be enough to face the challenges ahead? Stories of other conjoined twins show both heartbreak and hope, reminding us how strong people can truly be. Bonds that defined history. Conjoined twins have always drawn attention from people around the world. It's not just about how their bodies are physically linked, but also about their extraordinary lives that fascinate everyone. While many people think about Abby and Brittany Hensel when conjoined twins are mentioned, they are far from the only ones who have made an impact in history. There have been other pairs whose lives have been just as remarkable, if not more. Let's start with Chang and Ing Bunker. They were born way back in 1811 in a place called Siam, which is now known as Thailand. These two are probably the most famous conjoined twins of all time. They were connected at the chest by a piece of cartilage, and a British merchant found them, eventually bringing them to the United States in 1829. They were pretty much shown off like an exhibit, with people paying to see them move and live together in sync. But their story goes beyond being just a show. They moved to North Carolina in 1839 and became citizens. Believe it or not, they even married, both of them to sisters named Adelaide and Sarah Yates. Together, they had a staggering 21 children. Their lives were like a big middle finger to society's expectations back then, and because of them, the term Siamese twins was coined. These guys didn't just live, they thrived. Next, there's Lori and George Chappelle. Born in 1961 in Pennsylvania, these twins were joined at the head, a condition called craniopagus. Even though they shared some parts of their brains, they managed to live very different lives. George became a country music artist using the stage name Reba Chappell, while Lori worked a regular job in hospital laundry. But their story took an even more unexpected turn in 2007 when George transitioned to male, making them the first conjoined twins to identify as different genders. Imagine the complexities of identity they had to navigate. One body, two people, with their own dreams and even gender identities. They showed the world that identity is much deeper than just appearances. Then there were Ronnie and Donnie Gaillon, born in 1951 in Ohio. These two were connected at the abdomen and held the record for being the longest-living conjoined twins, passing away in 2020 at the age of 68. They started their lives in sideshows where they were part of traveling attractions. But later they retired to their hometown to live a quieter life. Despite the challenges they faced, they lived for nearly 70 years, giving people a glimpse into what resilience truly looks like when you're living such a unique life.
'Cause our legs quit moving, we was weak as a kitten.
Daisy and Violet Hilton were another famous pair, born in 1908 in England. They were joined at the pelvis, a type called pygopagus. Their story is heartbreaking in many ways. Their mother sold them to a woman who trained them to become performers. They ended up becoming vaudeville stars in the United States, playing instruments and entertaining large crowds. Their musical talents made them famous, but their lives were far from glamorous behind the scenes. They faced betrayal, control, and a lot of hardship. The story of Daisy and Violet is one of triumph and tragedy all mixed together as they struggled to have control over their own lives while living under a spotlight they never chose. Masha and Dasha Krivoshlyapoova, born in 1950 in the Soviet Union, were joined in a way that made them share three legs. From the beginning, their lives were rough. They were taken from their mother and studied by doctors. Their childhood was spent in institutions where they were treated more like subjects than children. Despite all this, they developed unique personalities and had their own interests. Their story highlights how different cultures and political systems can affect the treatment of conjoined twins. They weren't just surviving, they were trying to carve out their own individuality in a system that didn't see them as fully human. Another pair of conjoined twins that fascinated many people were Ganga and Jamuna Mandal. They were born in India around 1970 and were joined at the pelvis too. Because of how they looked, they became known as the Spider Sisters. They worked in traveling shows for most of their lives, which might sound similar to other stories of conjoined twins. But in recent years, their story took a happier turn. They found love and companionship, showing that even in a world that often sees them as different, they could find someone who loves them for who they are. Their story challenges the idea that conjoined twins can't live full and happy lives. When you hear these stories, you realize that the experiences of conjoined twins are as varied as any other group of people. Some live their lives in the public eye, others fought for independence, and some simply wanted to live quiet lives away from the spotlight. But they all shared something beyond their physical connection, a resilience that many of us could never understand. Their lives force us to rethink our ideas of identity, connection, and what it means to be normal. Is separating Abby and Brittany a medical necessity, or could it have been avoided entirely? Share your thoughts and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.